All
All right, whenever you're ready, Mary Jo.
right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So today we're here to mark two important public safety milestones. First and foremost, today marks the 1 year anniversary of Chief Tracy's service to the city of St. Louis. And second, today I'm releasing my State of Public Safety report, which details where we've been and where we will go next. I want to thank the people up here with me today and many, many more for pushing us towards this reality. I'm so grateful to Chief Tracy and the officers of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department for their strategic deployment to address violent crime. I'm also grateful to Will Pinkney and the Office of Violence Prevention for his team for their violence reduction work. I also appreciate the community team members he's brought with him today from Mission St. Louis, Behavioral Health Response, the Mental Health Board, and Story Stitchers. I also want to thank Public Safety Director Charles Coyle and the work his team has done to improve our 911 service. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank Neil Richardson, CEO of SLDC, and the long-term economic justice work he's leading in St. Louis. I don't know if you've heard this, but crime is down in the city of St. Louis. We saw a dramatic decline in violent crime in 2023. Homicides are down 21% in the city of St. Louis. This is on top of the 25% decrease in my first year in office and marks the lowest homicide rate St. Louis has seen in a decade. In 2020, the year before I took office, the city's homicides totaled 263. The number we're looking at today is 40% lower than that number. Everyone knows that I'm a mom first. And as the mom of a 16-year-old high school student, I am particularly grateful for the 47% drop in juvenile-related shootings. When we engage and empower our young people, their potential and success are limitless. I'm encouraged by our progress, but let me be clear. We are not here to celebrate. One life lost to violence is one too many. And personally, I have lost 4 family members to gun violence since I became mayor in 2021, 3 of them regionally. We still have a great deal of work to do, and my administration remains committed to saving and improving the lives of all St. Louisans. From the strategic deployment of officers to address violent crime, to ensuring our Office of Violence Prevention delivers the support our community organizations need in order to provide prevention and intervention services in our communities. Since my inauguration in April of 2021, my administration has been guided by 3 public safety tenets: ensuring the safety of our residents, addressing the root causes of crime, and being responsive to community needs. This is the framework of prevention, intervention, and enforcement. Our progress on public safety outlined in our report includes critical efforts, including establishing the city's first Office of Violence Prevention and selecting our first police chief from outside St. Louis in the agency's entire history. It also includes taking big steps to fix our city's broken 911 system and getting the right responder to the right call. It includes ensuring the city jail is secure with proper locks and access points and adequately prepared to provide medical service to individuals with underlying health conditions. It also includes major investments in infrastructure to ensure that no matter how you get around our city, you can be and you can feel safe. I'll let my team speak to their own accomplishments so far, but first I just want to brag a little bit since this is Chief Tracy's anniversary. Last year, when our state legislature fought tooth and nail to take over our police department, I told them to give the chief time. Unfortunately, it has not stopped them from coming back at us again this year, but we're headed in the right direction. Today, our homicide clearance rate is 75%, well outpacing the national average and showing that community trust is growing. Our homicides are at a 10-year low. Auto thefts, which have plagued the city over the past few years, are down 19%. We have a police department that graduated 4 academy classes in 2023 and welcomed back 14 officers from other municipalities. Chief, we saw incredible progress this year, and I thank you again for bringing your time, your talent, your expertise, and your family to St. Louis. I'm proud of what we've done in a year, and I look forward to working with you for many, many years to come.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hiring Chief Tracy was just one key component of my public safety agenda. Everyone here knows there must be a balance between prevention, intervention, and enforcement to have safe and thriving communities. We will continue our community violence intervention work, but we will take the lessons learned from our investments to date and further hone in on our priorities. I'm excited for Director Will Pinckney to tell you more about the Show Me Peace initiative that we're launching here today. We will deepen collaboration. In 2023, we hosted a regional crime summit involving elected business and philanthropic leaders from both sides of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. Instead of simply issuing another study, we agreed to work side by side to reduce crime in the region. Collectively, we agreed to a goal of reducing homicides by 20% over the next 3 years. We're also expanding opportunities. I've spent a lot of time discussing short-term strategies to reduce violence, but public safety dollars cannot be the only investments we make in our neighborhoods that experience high levels of crime. We're committed to implementing our Economic Justice Action Plan, infusing our city's most disinvested neighborhoods with over $287 million in American Rescue Plan funds to empower, develop, and transform North St. Louis and parts of South St. Louis. We will make our streets safer, not just for cars, but for pedestrians, cyclists, and public transit riders. We're investing in over $40 million in our city's roadways to ensure safer streets, and we expect construction to begin later this year and into 2025. And we're just getting started. We will stick to our principles and build on our strengths to make St. Louis safe for all residents. It's now my absolute pleasure to turn it over to Chief Robert J. Tracy.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for your faith in me, taking a chance on an outsider who started in his career 41 years ago in the NYPD. Here I am in St. Louis, and this is my first year. I think when everybody met me, other than the town hall, this is where it all started last year, over a year ago, about a year ago. Here's the anniversary date. And so what I'd like to do is just go over some of the things that we talked about at the 100-day press conference. We talked about progress. And even in a year in, it's progress. None of this is a victory lap because we had so much more work to do. There's so much to do. One life is one too many that's lost in our community. But we have made progress this year. We have made progress in some of the things that we put in place. And some of these things I talked about at the 100-day press conference, but those are the things and the mainstays what we got to continue to do to make sure we can make this place safer, make sure we can legitimize inside internally in a police department, and then get external success working with the community and all the other stakeholders, community, press, elected officials, civic association, business leaders. Everyone has a stake in this city and how we can make it safer. So my priority is evidence-based policing, utilizing CompStat system, business management principles applied to police work, infused with community engagement, evidence-based strategies, and making sure that we're talking with the communities and going to community meetings. Because when I talked to you at the 100-day, I was probably at a little over 70 community meetings that I went to personally. And I've continued that trend. And when I'm not there, each and every one of our officers is a community policing officer. And we've been going to the community meetings to build trust, because the only way we can start to build the trust is to get to know each other. And after years of separation because of the pandemic, after the George Floyd murder, we've been separated. And we have opportunity now to start to all come together, because there's been too much divisiveness. And we need to come together, work together in a common goal. And I heard something last night when we were at the town hall last night. James Clark from the Urban League said, it should be St. Louis against the world instead of St. Louis against St. Louis. And if we can come together with everybody that's here, all the stakeholders you'll hear from, we can get this done. Because I've been in cities where we've been able to turn things around. This is progress. And we're always going to be making changes in policing. We're always going to be looking at things that need to be done because it's always evolving. There's always going to be incidents that we have to take a critical look at to make sure, are we doing the right thing? Are we being held accountable? Should we be making changes? And we'll continue to do that. I've done that over the course of 40 years. And in policing, we're probably the most looked at and critiqued type of work probably in the world. And we accept that because we're accountable to you, we're accountable to the community, and we accept that challenge because we're always looking to improve and trying to build that trust that's so fragile. So how do we get to where we need to be? We've lost a few hundred officers over the last few years, and people talk about retention, and they also talk about recruitment. Well, number one, this year, the mayor gave one an historic raise to our St. Louis Metropolitan Police officers to make sure we could be competitive, make sure that we can retain officers, and make sure we could start recruiting officers. And they have an economic reopener. And then we looked at how we recruit. Now, we've talked about 4 classes that a couple graduated, 2 went in. And we're going to continue to do that because we changed our business model. We've taken a critical look on how we're hiring police officers. We were not waiting 6 months hoping to fill a class. We're constantly hiring, and with the help of Director Sonia Gray, we've looked at a model where now we can get to the individuals that are applying for police departments, and we're actually calling them back right away, getting them in the system, getting them in the process, and then making sure that we look at them and get those classes started every 2 to 3 months, and to try to catch up instead of waiting every 6 months. And that's been working so far. That's been working. We're going to continue to do that. So I thank the Department of Personnel, Sonia Gray, for the flexibility, still with the oversight on how we're doing our hiring with the civil service law and the charter. So we'll continue to do that. We had promotions. This year, we did 4 promotional exams. That's huge for morale, to make sure that we're doing things and not getting stale and stagnant, to bring future leaders and move them up in the organization. We had a lieutenant's test, a captain's test, a major's test, a lieutenant colonel's test. And I've done promotions and reorged the police department and put people in places so we can move forward in the future to make sure we're best placed and how we're going to make sure that we continue on these successes. And then, most of all, we can't do this alone. We can't do this alone. And that's why you're seeing all the partners that are up here. And there's many more. And when you talk about the Office of Violence Prevention, every place that I've gone, we had to create that. But I was fortunate to come in under the mayor's leadership that we have Will Pickney here. Will also has that office up and running, and that we can lean on that. So we're working together to make sure that we can make a safer St. Louis. Focused deterrence. We had a big summit with East Gateway Security Initiative last month. And we talked heavily about it. And I spoke to a lot of reporters afterwards what this is about. And that East Gateway Security Initiative brought in people where we're going to work in the region, because those people that are committing most of the violence is a very small amount. But they actually cross jurisdictional boundaries. And we have to be working as a region together to try to bring services to these individuals to get them out of crime, because the people that are the most violent, the small percentage, are also have the highest propensity to be a victim of crime. So we got to keep them safe as well and break the cycle. And those are the things we're going to do. The mayor hit on some of the numbers. You have a lot of the numbers. But when you take a look at homicide, which they measure all cities in the United States by, those homicide numbers, people are talking about they're down, but everybody says they're down from the pandemic years, 2020, 2021. What are they like pre-pandemic? Because a lot of them come down from that time. We have come down to a 10-year low. So we're down below pre-pandemic numbers. And once again, it's progress. We just got to build off of that. But we're trending in the right direction, and we hope to continue with the strategies we have in place and working with all the other stakeholders in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here. Happy New Year. So 2023 was the first full calendar year that OVP was in existence. And allowed us to really work hard toward our effort of building a ecosystem, a CVI ecosystem. Working with community partners, we were able to launch new initiatives and provide services to over 3,000 individuals in 62 of the 79 neighborhoods in the city. Our call diversion and crisis response work served over 7,000 individuals and had over 7,000 engagements, OVP issued over 30 contracts to community organizations to support crisis intervention, trauma-informed care, safety planning, efforts to reduce domestic violence, employment assistance, life skills, and more. And we will continue to add on contracts in this calendar year. We launched 2 new initiatives, one the mayor mentioned. Show Me Peace is one. This is a call to action asking each and every one of us to demonstrate our commitment to reduce violence and foster a culture of peace in our daily lives. The initiative will use credible messengers to prevent and reduce gun violence by responding to firearm-related violence, mediating conflicts, steering those involved in violence into alternative positive choices. Another initiative we were able to launch was our clinician-only response, crisis response. The program is called the Community-Centered Crisis Response Team. This is a public health approach to violence prevention and intervention that utilizes a civilian-led crisis response to low-priority calls for service. The team focuses on assisting individuals experiencing a nonviolent crisis such as behavioral health, depression, and homelessness. And the goal is to provide to improve public safety by addressing underlying conditions that contribute to crime. This team did a soft launch in November and has responded to about 14 calls for service so far. I am proud of what we've accomplished, but while we can celebrate our success today, the job is not done. Success does not belong to one person, one department, or organization. Ours is rooted in collaboration with community. In 2024, we will increase our focus. To those who are watching, we will continue to need your help. The challenge ahead of us is daunting, but not insurmountable. Fear is not an option. The road to success is not straight. There may be setbacks, but with determination, collaboration, and commitment, we will continue to move forward. We will continue our work with our partners, many of which you see here, to provide services that address root causes of crime and violence. And we will do that block by block and neighborhood by neighborhood until we achieve our goal of safe and healthy communities throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to speak with you a little bit about the 911 system. I joined the team in February of last year, and there was a framework started, but our 911 system staffing was down over 50 positions. If you guys recall, our response time to those was pretty slow. We had long hold times for callers to 911. And we began this process by first trying to beef up our staff. And with the pay raises that the mayor has helped put in place, we are out of that 50 vacancies, we are now down to 12 911 dispatchers vacancies and 4 EMS. Now, this is a constantly changing process as we train these dispatchers. We recognize that it's not for everyone. We may have some dispatchers that find out what the stress level is like and decide not to stay on the job. And so we have kind of put that into our plan to address this. We know we're going to have some turnovers, but we have done pretty well so far. We have hired over 35 dispatchers. Our call taking time has improved greatly. We're not where we need to be. We have gone from July, I believe, or this time last year, of only answering 50% of calls within 10 seconds. The national average is trying to get to 90% of calls answered in 10 seconds. We have been constantly at 80% this month and last month. In some of those days, we have actually gone past 90%. So we're still pushing forward with this. We're still interviewing candidates. We're still looking to bring new dispatchers on so that we can meet that national standard of answering calls within 10 seconds. Um, I have met each dispatcher. I make it a point when they're sworn in to get to meet with the dispatcher and welcome them to the service, welcome them to the team, get to know them, let them know how important the job that they're doing is. If they can't answer a call, then the police department can't get to an emergency call. The fire department can't get to a call, or EMS can't get there. So we have not seen the complaints on hold times. Many of you guys have reported and sent in complaints that, well, it took minutes for someone to answer at 911. I think many of those complaints have kind of disappeared. Now, even with those complaints, sometimes during an emergency when a person calls in, seconds seems like minutes. So we would do our research and we'll find out if a person's been on for 10 seconds and they thought it was 10 minutes. And that's normal when you're involved in an emergency. Time just passes. You'll think you've been there forever, and it just really hasn't been that long. So we anticipate some of that. But we're moving forward. Our second phase, I have said to you guys before, once I have dispatchers in the service for about 8 months, then we'll offer cross-training to move them up. We have a position as a dispatcher 3. That's a dispatcher that will be able to work in any one of the branches: the Police 911 Center, EMS, and Fire Dispatch. So we're looking forward to many of them wanting to progress. It pays more and it helps them kind of build their future in dispatching. So the second part, or the third phase of this, was the PSAP that I spoke with you about. Those plans are still ongoing. The design concept is just about complete for the dispatch center. We're hoping to break ground hopefully this year. Part of that is also going to be a daycare that we'd like to build to retain our employees, our first responders. A 24/7 daycare that we can do something to help with that daycare cost. Many of you are well aware that daycares in our area are really limited. If we're going to keep young, talented people in our service, we have to do something to help them with their children. If we're going to allow certain employees to be on specialized teams that may have to be called out at 2 and 3 in the morning, but have children, they now can probably be a part of that team as long as they have somewhere to take their children. Before, if you had children, you wouldn't think about joining a specialized team because you had nothing to do with your children. You had no one to watch them when you're called out. And during emergency services, you're called and you have a time to respond. So this opens the door for many of the officers and the EMTs and the firefighters that are on call, where when they have to come in, they have somewhere they can take their children and feel that they're safe, go to work and come home. So this is something that we believe is truly important and will help us retain good employees. You all are aware that we're fighting a battle to keep employees. You're not going to get better training than you would get in the city of St. Louis. I don't care what branch you're in. This is where the action happens. And many of the surrounding areas want to poach our employees once they've been trained. A year here gives you more experience than 2 or 3 or 4 years in another department. So we must do something to retain those employees, and this is what we're working on. So, thank you.
Thank you.